Hello, I'm Labris, and welcome back to the Shadow Story Speedrun tutorial. Um, this time we're going to start with Kingdom Valley, which is one of the more technical stages in the run, along with the next two, Crisis City and Flame Core. Um, I'm going to be referencing things that I brought up in part one as far as mechanics go, just to be a little more efficient about things, such as homing, attacking into slopes, pause clips, um, things that are used before, to uh, explain strats that have been done before in the run. Um, some of those techniques will also be used here. Um, so far, if you've watched part one, you've already seen the buggy. Here you're going to make use of the next two vehicles. First one is going to be the glider. Gliders are completely on rails. The forward speed you gain is purely due to you are either holding A or doing a quick double tap to boost. So what you want to do for Kingdom Valley is into the load into the first section. You want to hold up and then double tap A and hold it for about 3 seconds. And after that 3 seconds, your boost will run out. So you double tap A again. You can kind of see, I don't know if it's quite visible, that things get a little blurrier when you're boosting, and there's an audible sound effect change. And if you just hold up, you can dodge every single enemy. All the combat is optional. You should be getting 14s. If you're not getting 14s, you were either asleep at the wheel, you missed a boost, or you hit something. I don't know how you hit something if you're just holding up. All right. So this is where the hard stuff starts. Right at the beginning, we're going to make use of our newly found upgrade, the Light Dash. The Light Dash is also something that carries you beyond your maximum running speed while being grounded. So you're going to naturally pick up the first two rings in this trail of rings, but you can just Light Dash off of purely the third straight forward. So I Light Dash and I neutral stick to carry that momentum. And I Light Dash again. Now here you have to be kind of careful spin kicking here, as you do not want to touch Rouge. Do not make physical contact with Rouge. That will switch you to Rouge, and casually that is what you want to do. But since we have the power of pause clipping, we can save ourselves like a minute or so, maybe 2 minutes. Homing attack over, line ourselves up more towards the door than the wall, and pause clip our way through. Remember, aim start, same frame. You should move, but not necessarily grunt. I do it a bit fast here. Spin kick, homing attack, pause clip through. You don't have to hit this checkpoint, but hey, there's you on the very right side of the screen. You skip the transition back to yourself just by clipping through the door. You want to light dash off of those rings and neutral stick once more. Spin kick. And then hit Y to get inside the hovercraft. The key to the hovercraft is you want to steer, or rather turn, as little as possible. So I'll be holding A this entire time and just tapping left or right to go around this path. Now I take this turn a little tight, I think, in PV. No, that's perfect. So around here, I let go of A to kind of ease myself off the throttle. And if you hold X, you start to brake. So that's why I'm tapping X. Now, a thing about points in Kingdom Valley. In Kingdom Valley, if you go fast enough and collect a little too many points, you're going to get an S rank instead of an A rank, which will lose you 5 seconds, 6 seconds automatically. This is easy to avoid as long as you try not to pick up that many rings and try not to kill that many enemies. The way I dodge the enemies here is pretty perfect, but they can move in different ways. They can also just try not to move at all. So running into one isn't the end of the world, but it does get you 100 points, which is a little bit closer to the S rank you're trying to avoid. Now you want to go to the right side, just so you don't get hit by that piece of falling debris that's right in front of me. And then curve a little bit left. This is something that I see people just don't stop. That's the key. Don't shoot anything and don't stop. Now about here, once I pass that giant tower on my right, I brake until I'm almost at a complete stop. If you're not too comfortable with doing it as fast as I do it, do come to a complete stop before you get out of the hovercraft, jump, and homing attack this spring. Now note that Shadow's homing attack range not only gets wider as you get farther out, but it also gets taller. So you need to be appreciably far out. The spring can't be directly above you. It has to be at least a little bit out. And don't worry, the camera doesn't change until you've locked on. Light dash, spin kick, homing attack over those rings. And to be as fast as possible, you want to hold a chaos spear in the path of the eagle. So that way, when it comes to its location where it would normally wait for you, you're already hanging onto it. Shoot for like a 10x or something. Sub 1 is really good. At the beginning of this section, which is section 3 is a lot to take in. At the beginning of this section, I hold right, you can also hold left, at the very beginning during the loading screen to dodge these 3 rings. It will not kill you. Mash A, hit this guy on the left, turn left, homing attack, and then curve around to the right, like this. So that you don't lock onto the enemies, but you make it to this tower. Now this, you can do one of 2 ways. You can either homing attack the enemy second to the right, or the one all the way to the right. I go deep here and go all the way to the right, but it is just equally viable to go second to the right into this one. You do not want to target that ring capsule at all costs, as it, I think, contains 20 rings, and that gets you 200 points automatically, so don't do it. These enemies cost you no points, so it doesn't matter as far as S ranking goes. Just as long as you hit one into the tower, it's fine. And chances are you will. Just based on the direction you're coming from. Homing attack the spring. Again, jump neutral stick up these stairs. Note that these are kind of magnetic, as in if they start falling, um, and you're on the bluer part of the stairs, like this part right here, instead of the curb, you will kind of stick to it and you cannot jump off and you will die. So do move quickly. You want to jump, you want to walk past this ring capsule before homing attacking off like that. Don't lock onto anything. Again, homing attack neutral stick up those stairs. This is something that I do that you don't necessarily have to do. You do want to light dash, spin kick through these boxes. What I do is I M speed, see how I'm holding half magnitude on the control stick, not full. I do 3 spin kicks here. And then I jump on top of this post. And then I do a spear to kind of reset my gravity. And then I homing attack across. Alternatively, you could go around to the left here on the outside and then go straight to the rope. This rope right here. And land in approximately the same spot. This saves about a second over the other strat. However, you do have a chance of getting sniped by the enemy you spin kick under their legs. So take that into account. This is a bit riskier. Yeah, that red guy that I just passed. It can snipe you. Now, as you're hitting this automation, you want to hit the left side of this dash panel, if at all possible, and M speed so that you dodge this dash panel. That dash panel will actually slow you down. Now, there are 2 ways to do this next section. You can either jump on this box, which takes you directly, and then jump to the right. See if you can get you out of the spring. Directly to the spring that takes you into that spring. Or you can do something a little more technical. I like the full jump and homing attack. Basically, I think of it as homing attacking into that robot's right shoulder. I hold A after I homing attack to get like some extra height. I press left trigger to reset the camera. This is very important. So you can see the spring, face the spring, and you're out. That saves about a second. Do try that strat and see how comfortable you are with it. But the box, jumping off the cage that contains the spring, is just easier. But this is slightly faster. Now, when you get off this chain jump section after pressing A a couple times, neutral stick. It doesn't put you into the automation section that normally sends you all the way up and then all the way down to the castle, getting you a nice view of Kingdom Valley. You will land just right here. So all you have to do is neutral stick, jump, but keep neutral sticking. Don't move into that dash panel. Homing attack again. You can jump on this like middle section here. And then jump across. Light dash on those. try, and this dash panel in particular gives you a lot of speed. Try and spin kick as much as possible. Avoid those rings because light dashing will slow you down in this scenario. Plus, they would give you points. I usually try and homing attack through that checkpoint. However, I got intercepted. I'm going to go around to the right. Big jump. Instead of doing that combat in there, you can jump around to the right here. Treat these stairs like you would the others. I like homing attacking that ball. You can also jump into the ball and then homing attack the rail that spawns, which is a little faster, but I find it risky. I find it hard to preserve speed and then do that. Preserve speed from the stairs. So there are two choices you have here for ending the stage. You can either ride the rail all the way up here and then just jump off, or you can do something called Ramsey rail, which you do a big jump off of this rail. You line yourself up with this pillar, and then homing attack it. Make sure it knocks things over. As soon as you make contact, you want to jump off and homing attack at the rail. You will lock onto the rail. Now, I should mention something about rails, because it's never explained in the 06 manual, any of the voice lines that tell you things, nothing. So here's how to navigate rails efficiently. You want to press the X button about 3 times a second, approximately. So you can see the rhythm that I'm using up at the top right. And as long as you're keeping good rhythm, you will speed up with each X press, and Shadow will keep doing a trick animation. If he, for some reason, you're pressing X, and it's like, hey, Shadow's not doing a trick animation, that means you pressed X too fast, and you need to release X for about a second in order to press X to accelerate on a rail again. That's it. It's not explained whatsoever, but it makes sense. Let's explain. Now, since I don't want to, since I'm on decent pace, I will take a hit here. I would just recommend just taking a hit here anyways, regardless of how fast you were at the rest of the stage or how many points you may have carrying into this point. Just jump into this guy. Your jump does not kill anything. So just jump into that guy. Plus, when you jump, you don't have a falling on your butt animation. You just get hit and you land. And a homing attack to the left of these rings. If you feel like you're really if you're entering here at about, I want to say 3 flat and above, then yeah, you can take this trail to light dash. Otherwise, homing attack to the left. And then this pause clip is probably the most lenient one I can think of. Like, I do it from all the way out there. I'm not even like shoved in the corner. I've done it from like all the way back here, and it still worked. Just as long as you neutral stick into this corner, you should be fine. Then homing attack into the goal ring. You want to aim for like 315s, I want to say, for the whole shebang. Lower is better, of course, but 330, 315, closer to 315, I want to say, is a good start. The closer to 3 minutes you can get, the better. The Kingdom Valley is very technical. It takes a lot of time to get fluid at all the little platforming things you have to do. Speaking of little platforming things, Crisis City. Oh boy. Crisis City is divided up into 4 sections. There's a buggy section, 2 platforming sections, and then there's a glider section in between the platforming sections. So the buggy section is you actually moving using the buggy. You barely do any of that in White Acropolis, but here it's basically the fastest way to get around, and you start inside the buggy, so you go with it. The goal is to go as fast as possible without taking too much damage. So at the beginning here, you want to boost, and pay attention to when I boost, because if you boost any more, then you might go in a direction that is undesirable. And if you boost any less, you might run into things that shred your HP. So you boost at the very beginning. You want to aim for this left corner of the ramp. It makes the buggy a lot more controllable. And when you land, you want to make sure only 2 tires, it doesn't matter which pair, but only 2 tires are touching the ground at first. This will prevent you from bouncing off the ground very high on the next couple of jumps and make your buggy much more controllable throughout the rest of the level. Don't do that. So don't do that either. So if I were to do this correctly, I would boost through here, because these cars shred the buggy. They're probably the most damaging objects in the game to the buggy. They just multi-hit you. Instead of just hitting you once, they hit you like 15 times. And they have a very high probability of just chunking half or maybe even fully like depleting the buggy's HP. So I'm making sure I am very careful not to run into them at all. And here, if you just run into these jump panels, your buggy will be realigned according to the jump panels. You don't have to worry about trajectory going in. As long as you're making contact with these, you should be fine. Now I'm trying to get my front 2 tires on the ground first. Success. If you don't, you're going to bounce straight up and look like a dummy. I personally like to let go of throttle here and then brake around this turn with the X button. So, and then reboost here. By this point, you should have at least 20%. Like by the time you reach this half pipe. Also, I brake a little here, so I don't go full speed into the half pipe. Because if I do, I will not be quite in a position where I can only get 2 tires on the ground. I might get 3 or something, and I might flip over, and that's sad. So by this point, you want your buggy to have at least 20% HP, because you will take 2 hits of phantom damage while boosting on this half pipe, regardless of what you do. You do not want to be running here. There are worms spawning, and there's a bunch of stuff that just isn't good for shadow movement whatsoever. So you want to boost twice and 3 times, and you want to fling yourself straight forward, but on the right side of this like road yellow line. You want to fling this buggy as far as possible. And when it lands, you want to get out by pressing the Y button. The ideal buggy fling would break through this wall, which you can spin kick through, and get you to this rail. But I was a little short. My angle was a little weird, so I had to bail. And then you want to do the same thing you did with the Kingdom Valley rails. Press X about 3 times a second. If you're too fast, he'll stop spinning. Right before this rail ends, small optimization, jump and homing attack the next rail. If you just fall, that's fine. Now, a thing about dash panels. In this game, the game stores 2 values for grounded speed. There's a ground speed and additional grounded speed. Additional grounded speed is caused by things like dash panels. Grounded speed is just caused by you running around, doing homing attacks, light dashes, regular stuff. So what I do is I homing attack neutral stick into these dash panels, and I continue to neutral stick until I hit the load zone. This is so that I not only get the speed from the homing attack, but I also get the speed from the dash panels as well, all the way through the loop. That saves about 2 seconds, I want to say. At least a second, compared to hitting the dash panels just by themselves. So, if you ever read a review the buggy section of much you like, I know that Gordon has a guide on SRC to the buggy movement that's a bit more in depth than what I gave you there. Go check that out at speedrun.com. But ultimately, that's a general idea of what to do. So when you hit this rail, you want to jump off and immediately homing attack to your left. Don't worry, it's fine. You want to line Shadow's shoes up with this rail. This rail kind of curves to the right here. I use Shadow's shoes because it's the most visible part of him that will make contact with the rail first. You just want to fall here. You hit this checkpoint. Light dash neutral stick. Spin kick. And there's an optional M speed for 1 spin kick. But this requires some explanation. On either side of, well, you don't have to do this combat whatsoever. On either side of this bridge, right here and right here, there are homing attackable rails. And what you want to do is jump on the box in such a way that you prioritize the rails over the spring in the enemies that are about to spawn right beside you. So what I do is I line myself up about on the very left edge of the box. Approximately in between the 2 corners. I tap A while jumping towards the camera. And then I turn around by tapping up, and then I homing attack. Sometimes neutral sticking works as well, but generally, if whatever you find comfortable doing this jump with, that's the general place you stand. You want to do a tap jump into a homing attack, hold down, and then tap up and A to turn around and homing attack either side of this rail. Sometimes it's a bit finicky on which side you target. Sometimes you might actually end up on top of the rail, but that's still good. You skip the combat. It's whatever. You want to jump off this rail to your left. This is clench jump. It's much tighter as Sonic, and that's why they call it clench jump. But if you are too close to this building on the right, it will drag you down and you will die. So make sure to go at least a little appreciably to its left when you homing attack across, or else you're just going to get dragged down. Follow this rail. Again, 3 times a second. Face right. I'm off camera to not target the birds. Curve straight forward. For this, you can just hold straight forward and mash A. And you will just kind of upwarp to this rail that's directly above you. It's weird. I don't quite know why it works, but it does. And then homing attack the spring. And then go through this automation. I try to go for something fancy, but in reality, you just want to go through this entire automation. Spin kick through here. Wait until you pass this bird, then homing attack. Homing attack to the left. Right where this cloud of dust is, there will be a lizard that pops out of here. Oops. My scroll wheel is so touchy. So you want to get hit by him while you're in the air. That way you don't have the damage animation and you don't lose 2 seconds. So you can optionally jump off those boxes to get to this rail. It's a little more consistent, a little slower. Jump homing attack to this platform. Jump on this ball in order to reach this spring. And the rest is automation. If you're on console, hold up on the right stick to reduce lag here. Save yourself a bit of RTA. The third section is the glider section. It does not matter how you maneuver, as long as you hit the boosts and don't hit anything. Each hit you take loses a second. So you can go out of your way for the 1-ups if you need to. Doesn't quite matter. As long as you just don't get hit. Section 4 has some hard things to it. At the beginning, you want a homing attack to the left here. And once you touch the ground, there will be a lizard that pops out of the ground here. You want to homing attack him as he spawns. So as soon as you hit the ground, you homing attack in this general direction. And that gets you up here. You want to curve a little to the right in order to dodge this spring. This spring is bad. What you can do, this doesn't work on PS3 by the way. So sorry PS3 users. You have to hit that spring. But this is a jump that's kind of challenging. You want to jump as high as you can. And trust that the homing attack will give you the distance. You do not want to prioritize distance. You want to prioritize height to make it up on that underpass. That overpass. And this is fine. It'll kind of just like skim you off the railing and you'll be okay. Once again, prioritize height over distance. The distance will come from the homing attack. So you hit this one up. Homing attack this away. I want to face left to not only dodge the worm, but also the item capsule that's barely at the top of the screen behind the worm. This ring pulley is not a target. You just kind of have to go into it. And you want to go around to the right of all this stuff. You do not want to deal with the buggy at all. I do an extra homing attack into that side of the overpass there. It's a little risky. You don't have to do it. And then I do something a little different. Now, normally you can jump over here from here and then go towards this checkpoint. But what I do here is I make a big jump here, wait until I fall a little bit, then I hit Chaos Spear to reset my gravity, and then homing attack, which barely gets me enough distance to make it. Now, homing attack that lizard in order to attack the spring. Doesn't matter how you get to the spring, as long as you get to it. Directly to your right as you go up is a bird. I'm going to smack that. Then you smack this spring. Now the camera will try to steer you towards a section of the level that's intended, but you want to go in the exact opposite direction. So you want to go along the building. You see I'm holding down left, so I want to go like this way. Because from where you hit the spring, the checkpoint is directly above and behind you. So you want to kind of follow the building. Some people reset their camera so they can see immediately here and just hold up. I'm not quite sure how to do that. And boom, checkpoint. And then there's a big rail section here. Remember to keep your speed. 3 tabs a second. More rails. I usually get hit by this worm here because it is possible to S rank Crisis City with a lot of rings. But usually you won't. But I do it anyways. You can also just homing attack to the left of this big old guy. And then you want to do a big jump and homing attack onto this slope. And do not homing attack down this downhill slope. Just use the dash panels. Because when you homing attack out, you spend way too much time falling. And falling is kind of slow. So, for this little part, what you ideally want to do is gain a little bit of height off this debris. If you do it just from the asphalt, you won't quite get the height you need. What I do is Shadow's actually targeting the 1-up. But it gets canceled by me landing on the platform. This is really fast, but you can opt to play it a bit safer by just jumping up here and not even bothering to target the 1-up. Either way, you want to walk into or past the 1-up. Jump past the birds to this spring. And you're done? Congratulations. you're done with Crisis City. You want to aim for sub 430. 420 is great. Anything within like the 415, 410 range is schmoving if you are newer to the category. Anything sub 410 is pretty freaking good. This is a long and intricate level, but I think it's pretty fun. I'm not going to be covering the rock launches you can do because they're platform dependent and finicky. Although Lamb Sauce saves a lot of time, I don't think it's appropriate for this tutorial. The next part, I'll be covering Flame Core and Tropical Jungle Rouge as well as Meth 1. Stay tuned and check out part 3 coming to a YouTube near you.